One of the things that I really love about this pattern is that you can use any yarn weight and coordinating hook size and just jump in and get started. Hey y'all, I have a new fun crochet pattern to share with you today. If you're new here, welcome. My name is Nikki and I am the creative behind Avery Creations and ALC Yarns. Before we jump into the crochet pattern tutorial, I thought we would talk a little bit about the pattern that I'm sharing with you today. This is the Granny Triangle Shawl, and here is the first one that I made, and I used fingering weight yarn. The yarn that I used is from a yarn subscription company called Row One, and they send you 10-gram minis every month. I had so much fun making this Scrappy project, and I knew that I wanted to make another one. Let's talk about the materials you'll need for your Granny Triangle Shawl. One of the things that I really love about this pattern is that you can use any yarn weight and coordinating hook size and just jump in and get started. I have started another Granny Triangle Shawl on DK weight, and I am just using some of my scrap yarns. This pattern is great for busting through your yarn scraps. With this pattern, there are so many options. You can use it for advent projects or mini skein sets. I love putting together these mini adventure sets. The mini adventure sets are made up of 10 20-gram minis, and I offer them on worsted weight, DK weight, and sock weight. I'm so excited to now have a pattern that I can offer my crochet customers. If the whole scrappy look isn't your jam, you can grab some coordinating skeins of yarn and make a gorgeous colorwork shawl. I highly recommend stitch markers, so you can put a stitch marker in the first stitch and the last stitch in your row, and that will just really help you find where to put your first stitch, where to put your last stitch, and that will help prevent you from missing a stitch. You will definitely want a pair of scissors handy if you are doing a scrappy shawl. Let's talk about yarn weights and recommended crochet hook sizes. If you are making a fingering weight shawl, I recommend using a size 4mm crochet hook. For a DK weight shawl, I recommend a size 4.5mm crochet hook. And if you are using a worsted weight yarn, I recommend a size 5.5mm crochet hook. Now, these are just my suggestions. I highly recommend just making a swatch. I know I'm not a big swatch maker. If you are wanting a certain look or a certain drape to your project, I highly recommend making at least a 4, if not 6-inch swatch with the coordinating hook size, just to make sure the stitches are looking how you want them to look and that it has some drape to it. Of course, blocking will make it grow and can give it some more drape, but there's nothing worse than spending a bunch of time on your project, then it's just not going how you planned. Using the hook sizes that I recommend is a great starting point to swatch. Then you can just change it to your personal preferences for the result that you're wanting from there. I will have all of those details in the free crochet pattern for this Granny Triangle Shawl that you can find on my blog. I will post a link to that in the description box of this video. Let's dive into the video tutorial so you can get started on your very own Granny Triangle Shawl. To start out, you're going to make a magic ring. I just take my yarn tail and I drape it across my hand and I anchor it with my thumb. Then I take the yarn and I wrap it around these 3 fingers, come up over and around to the back and make an X. Then I take my hook and I go under the first strand of yarn and I pick up that second strand of yarn and I just pull it through. And then I just kind of whip my crochet hook around here, and you see as I pull the yarn, this strand of yarn's moving. That's the one we want to grab. So I just whip my crochet hook around like that, and I pick up that strand of yarn and I twist it and I pull it through that loop just like that. Then let's tidy up our magic ring. I like to get my yarn tail out of the ring and just get everything nice and tidy. Now work a stacked double crochet in the magic ring. A stacked double crochet is just 2 single crochets stacked on top of each other. So work a single crochet in the ring. Then we will place a single crochet right here in those 2 loops. So insert your hook between those 2 loops. It can be a little tricky. There we go. And then finish your single crochet. And what this does is it gives us a dedicated stitch to work into, plus it looks so much better than a chain 2. Now place 3 double crochets inside the ring. 1, 2, and 3. Now chain 2 and work 4 double crochets inside the ring. There's 1, 2, 3, and 4. And that is what you should have so far. Now let's tidy everything up here. Just pull on your yarn tail there. Get everything nice and neat. For row 2, you're going to turn your work. Do not chain. Now you will place a stacked double crochet in that first stitch. So single crochet, and then place another single crochet right there. Right there. Just go through both of those loops right there. And single crochet. Now you will place 3 double crochets between the first 2 double crochets of the previous row. So here's the first one and here's the second one. So we're going to work in that space. So double crochet right there in that space. And work 2 more. Now we are going to work into the chain 2 that we made from that previous row right there. We're going to work 3 double crochets, chain 2, and 3 more double crochets, all in this chain 2 space. So double crochet, and do 2 more. There we have our 3 double crochets. Now chain 2, and work 3 more double crochets, all in that space. Two and three. We've worked the first side, our corner stitch here, and now we're going to come around this other side. Place 3 double crochets between the last 2 double crochets from the previous row. So here's the last one and the second to last one. So right there's where we're going to work, right there. Yarn over and double crochet in that space. And repeat that 2 more times. One and two. Now double crochet in the very last stitch. This can be a little hard to find. Sometimes the top stitch is around back here. It can be helpful to place a stitch marker in the top of that last double crochet stitch so you can find it every time. We just finished row 2. Now we're going to turn our work. Do not chain. Now we'll start row 3, which is the row we're going to be repeating for the entire pattern. And you're going to work a stacked double crochet in that first stitch. And if you want to, now would be a good time to put a stitch marker in the top of that stitch. It just makes it so much easier to find. Now place 3 double crochets between your first and second double crochet from the previous row, and you're just going to work in that space. So yarn over and double crochet. There's 1, 2, and 3. Now you will work 3 double crochets between the groups of 3 double crochets from the previous row. So here's our group of 3 double crochets from the previous row, and here's the next group. Right here in this space is where we're going to be placing our groups of 3 double crochet stitches. So yarn over and double crochet in that space. There's 1, 2, and 3. Now we are at our chain 2 from the previous row, and we're going to work 3 double crochets in that chain 2 space. There's 1, 2, and 3. Now chain 2 and work 3 more double crochets in that same chain 2 space. There's 1, 2, and 3. Now we are coming around to the other side, and we are going to work 3 double crochets in this space between the 3 double crochet groups from the previous row. So here are those groups, and here's the space. This is where we're going to work 3 double crochets. So yarn over and double crochet in that space. Here's number 2 and 3. Now we're going to work 3 double crochets between the last 2 stitches from the previous row. So here is the last double crochet from the previous row, and we're just going to go right there in that space and work 3 double crochets in that space. There's 1, 2, and 3. And then double crochet in that very last stitch. That is the end of row 3, and this is what we have so far. You will just continue to repeat row 3 until you get to your desired height. I will go ahead and work a few more rounds for you and also show you how I like to change colors. Let's start row 4. Turn your work, stack double crochet in that first stitch, and 3 double crochets between the first 2 stitches of the previous round. There we have it. In true Nikki fashion, I forgot to mark my first stitch. So I'm going to go back and mark that first double crochet there. It just makes life so much easier. Now we work 3 double crochets between the groups of the 3 double crochets from the previous round. So here's one of the groups, and here's another group, and then we've got another one here. So we're going to work 3 double crochets in this group and 3 double crochets in this group. Last group here, there's 1, 2, and 3. So that's the first side. Now we are coming around here to the chain 2 space from the previous row, and we're going to work 3 double crochets in that chain 2 space. There's 1, 2, and 3. Now chain 2. Work 3 more double crochets in that same space. So you should have 3 double crochets, chain 2, and 3 more double crochets. Now we're going to come around this other side here and work 3 double crochets between the groups of 3 double crochets from the previous row. Here's a group here and a group here. We're going to put 3 double crochets here, a group here, and a group here. So we're going to place 3 double crochets here. right, now we are coming to the end of this row, and we are going to work a group of 3 double crochets between the last 2 stitches of the previous row. So here's the last one, and we're going to go right there. So work 3 double crochets in that space. 1, 2, and 3. Place a double crochet in the top of the last double crochet from the previous row. And right here, I'm going to show you how I change out my yarn colors. So I go ahead and I start the next stitch with my current yarn color. And then right here, before I yarn over and pull through those first 2 loops to start my double crochet, I am going to add in my next color. I'll grab my next color's yarn tail and I'll come over my work now, and I leave a generous tail in the back, and I just place it over the old yarn here. Then I pick the old yarn back up and I just kind of tuck the new yarn right there. So the new yarn is over the old yarn that I'm still working with. And I have my yarn tail in the back, and I just kind of anchor the new yarn right here with my thumb. Now we'll just ignore it. So yarn over and pull through those 2 loops there. Now drop the old color and pick up the new color. And yarn over and pull through those 2 loops to finish out that double crochet stitch. And that is how I change out my yarns. I always change on the last yarn over of the last stitch in the row. Now we can start the next row with the new color. So turn your work and then place a stacked double crochet in that first stitch. This is just a repeat of row 3, what we're going to repeat through the entire pattern. Place 3 double crochets between the first and second stitch of the previous row. So in that space, place 3 double crochets. And there's number 3. So there we have the start of the next row. And I'm going to go ahead and tidy up my yarn. We'll get this old color out of the way here. Now you're just going to work your clusters of 3 double crochets between each of the groups of double crochets. Now you're going to work 3 double crochet stitches between the groups of the 3 double crochet stitches from the previous round. So here's 1, and here's 1. So we're going to work here, here, and here. Go ahead and place 3 double crochet stitches in each one of those spaces. Then I will meet you at the chain 2 space. All right, I have each one of those spaces filled with 3 double crochets, and I am now at the chain 2 space from the previous row. We will work 3 double crochets, a chain 2, and 3 more double crochets in this chain 2 space. So there's double crochet number 3, chain 2. Now the other 3 double crochets. So there we have it, 3 double crochets, chain 2, 3 double crochets. Now for this side, just like the other side, we are going to work our 3 double crochets in those spaces there. So go ahead and work those, and I will meet you back at that point. All right, we should have our 3 double crochets in those spaces. Now you will place 3 double crochets between the last 2 double crochet stitches in the previous row. So right there. There's 1, 2, and 3. And now we will double crochet in the top of that very last stitch. Keep repeating row 3 until you get to your desired size, and that is how you make this super fun Granny Triangle Shawl. It is seriously just one of my favorite things. I had so much fun with my sock weight Granny Triangle Shawl, and all I've been able to think about since finishing it is making one with my DK weight scraps. I hope that you loved this tutorial. If you did, please consider giving it a thumbs up and subscribing to my channel if you're not already a subscriber. And if you decide to make a Granny Triangle Shawl, I would absolutely love to see your photos. So feel free to tag me on Facebook or Instagram. I will leave links to my social media below. Thank you so much for hanging out with me, and until next time, happy crocheting. Bye for now.